Hey there, CJ Math students, and welcome to homework number 100, area of composite figures, part 2. Before we do any composite figures, I just want to go through all the area formulas for every shape that we've learned so far. So go ahead and check off that you've watched the video, and make sure to answer the questions in Edpuzzle very carefully. All right, so first off, we got rectangles. The formulas for perimeter and area for rectangles. We got perimeter, you could just add up all the sides, or you could say 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. It doesn't really matter which one you call the length or which one you call the width. And for area, it's just base times height. So perimeter, we're doing some addition. Area, we're always doing multiplication. Let's plug in our numbers. So for our perimeter, we could call the length 8 and the width 10. We could call the base 8 and the height 10 for our area. So for a perimeter, you end up having 16 plus 20, which means you have a perimeter of 36 feet, just regular units. And for area, you end up having 80 feet squared. All right, so that's a rectangle. Working backwards with area, the first thing you always want to do is just write down the formula. A equals base times height. And now this time I'll give you one of the numbers that you need, but I'll also give you the area. So notice I give you the area of 28. So 28 is equal to, it doesn't matter if I give you the base or the height. In this case, I gave you the height, so just 7, and then just put x for the guy that you need to solve for. It's a one-step equation. So all I'm going to do to both sides is divide by 7, and I'll get x is equal to 4, meaning the question mark here, or the base in this shape, is 4 centimeters long. For a parallelogram, we've got pretty much the same thing going on as a rectangle, right? 2L plus 2W, using just the outside numbers only when you're talking about perimeter, nothing on the inside. So in this case, we're going to get our perimeter equal to 24 plus 18, meaning that you have a perimeter of 42 centimeters, versus your area, which is going to be base times height. And remember, your height is the dotted line, right? You don't go to the doctor and stand sideways and get your height measured. You stand straight up and down. So dotted line, or wherever you have a right angle, that's going to be your height. So in this case, your area here is going to be equal to 72 centimeters squared. And working backwards, you'll notice I give you the area. So after writing the formula, we write A equals BH, 9 equals 3x, and then you need to solve for x. So divide both sides by 3. And in this case, your missing base right here, your question mark, is 3 kilometers. Right? Now for a square, you can treat it like a rectangle and a parallelogram, 2L plus 2W and area equals base height. Or you can make your life a little bit easier. If you know all the sides of a square are the same, we can just say 4 times the side length, 4s, or the side length times itself, s squared. So for perimeter, it would look something like P is equal to 4 times the side length of 5, which your perimeter would be equal to 20 inches. You'd get the same thing if you did 2L plus 2W. And for area, you can say area is equal to 5 side length squared times itself. That's 5 times 5, not 5 times 2. So your area is 25 inches squared. Again, you get the same thing if you did 5 times 5 in the area formula of BH. When working backwards, you really have to use this A equals S squared because I only gave you what the area was. So plug that in for A, 121 equals S squared. How do we undo something that is square? We take the square root. We ask ourselves what number times itself gives us 121. And the answer in that case is 11. So that means that every side on this square is 11 centimeters. And you could double check that by throwing in 11 there and then doing 11 times 11, and look at that, you'd get 121. You know you have the correct answer. All right, now we start to get a little bit tricky with triangles. The perimeters, we're just going to add up the side plus the side plus the side. There's no real formula. You're just going to add up all the numbers on the outside only, so no numbers on the inside. So 7 plus 8 plus 9. Gives you your answer of 24 centimeters. For area, you can use either 1/2 base times height or base times height divided by 2. It doesn't matter. I like using 1/2 base times height, so area is equal to 1/2. I could put 9 there, but that's kind of hard to take half of 9, so let's put the height, right? The height is, in this case, is 6. So half of 6 times your base of 9. Half of 6 is 3, so 3 times 9 is 27 centimeters squared, right? when we're working backwards, we're going to plug in what we know. Our area is 42 this time. I know that I have a base of 12, and so I'm trying to find my height. So I have 42 equals 1/2 my base of 12, and my height I don't know, so x. So half of 12 is 6, so 42 is equal to 6x, and then we just divide by 6 to get your answer of the height of this triangle being 7 meters. For trapezoids, again, we're going to have to add up all the sides. In fact, you cannot find the perimeter of this trapezoid because I did not give you that last side. You cannot assume that it's 8. In fact, it'd probably be a little bit bigger than 8 because that line segment right there is leaning a little bit. So you cannot find this perimeter. If I asked you to find the perimeter of a trapezoid, you would just add up all the numbers on the outside. But I didn't give you that last number. So for the area, we're going to plug in 1/2 times height times base 1 plus base 2. So here we go. That means we're going to go half of 8, which is our height. Dotted line's a height. And it doesn't matter how we put our bases in, base 1 or base 2. So 9 plus 3. We got all our numbers. Let's work it out. Half of 8 is 4. So area is equal to 4 times 9 plus 3. 9 plus 3 is 12. So area is equal to 4 times 12, which means our area in this case is 48 yards squared. Working backwards can kind of be a little bit tricky. You'll notice in this trapezoid, I don't have my height, so I like to put that at the very end of my trapezoid equation instead of right next to 1/2 this time. And I do have my bases of 1.7 and 4.3, so I'm going to plug those in for my bases. So here we go. So area is equal to 1/2 of 1.7 plus 4.3, and then x on the outside, because I don't know what h is. 1.7 and 4.3 added together give me 6. I've also made a mistake here. I actually know what my area is. My area is 6. I'm going to erase my a there and write down 6 because that is the area that I gave you for this shape. So 6 is equal to 1/2 of 1.7, 4.3 is 6x. And so 6 is equal to half of 6 is 3x. And then I finish this off simply by dividing by 3. So the height of this trapezoid that I gave you had an area of 6 is simply 2, because that's what 6 divided by 3 is. All right, lastly, it seems like a long time ago that we talked about circles, but you guys know the formulas for circles as well. So here we go. We got our circumference is pretty much like a perimeter. It's the distance around a circle. That's c equals pi d. So in this case, we have c is equal to 3.14. That's what pi always is, times our diameter. This is a diameter because it goes all the way across. So your circumference is 25.12 just regular inches. And then for your area is equal to 3.14 times r squared. You're not going to use 8 because 8 is your diameter. So that means you just need half of this so that your radius is 4. So times 4 squared. Well, 4 squared is 16. So 3.14 times 16 will give you your answer for your area, which is